It's Thursday, 21st of October, 2021. In today's Derby Day preview special, we're joined by Tom Harrison, who's both an acquaintance of Tim and a supporter of them lot down the M55. Tom, along with a lot of stats, boxes and arrows from Sean, is going to be helping us preview this Saturday's long-anticipated match against the Nobbers. I'm Josh Brown, this is the Seasiders podcast, match preview, Blackpool v PNE.
Small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back again to the Seasiders podcast. Nick, just unmute. There you go. Welcome back to the Seasiders podcast. Tim, on the back of a monster drink along and match reaction show against Reading. We've pulled it out of the bag again for tonight's show. Big preview against the Nobbers. We've got to keep this momentum going, haven't we? And get on the pod again for this massive game.
It's like when you get to the end of the season and you've got all these games coming thick and fast. And I think I've spent more time on the pod than I've done in work in the last 24 hours, which is
no change there, Tim.
Yeah, no change there. Anyway, before we start, can I just say how good it is to see that Tom's actually put his banner in tangerine on there? I don't think he realised he had a choice of colours. But every credit, mate. It's good to see that us Foul Coast lawyers are sticking together.
As Tim has sort of insinuated there, Tom Harrison, welcome, Tom. Tom's a Preston fan, a Foul Coast-based Preston fan, may I add. Welcome, Tom. Thanks ever so much for coming on this evening.
No problems.
Must be a daunting experience being faced by 4 Blackpool fans and
I know you didn't tell me there was going to be 4 yet.
Oh, did you forget to mention that?
It's like that bit in Gladiator, isn't it? When things come out of the floor that to sort of trip you up and stab you in the leg, and
I'd expect nothing
to make it a little bit more difficult.
I'd expect nothing less from you lot with the tower.
So, Tom, you, as Tim mentioned there, you both operate in the same kind of legal circles. Is that how you two met?
Yeah, it is. I've probably known Tim for about 12, 13 years. A lot of the time he's been fairly insignificant to me because you've been sort of miles behind us, really. But, there's been plenty of banter backwards and forwards over the years. Sadly, not in the courtroom because we deal with different aspects of the law, but certainly there's a healthy rivalry between our two firms, I can assure you.
By firms, do you mean firms, or just legal firms?
Oh, no, don't want to stoke the fire.
Well, we're on the Gold Coast, and to be fair to Tom's firm, is made up of a combination of Preston fans and Fleetwood fans. So we've got the proper rivalry and then the plastic one.
Are the Fleetwood fans paid to go to work, like they're paid to be a Fleetwood fan?
Well, they've got the manager, former manager of both our teams in charge at the minute. So interesting times.
Okay, welcome to everyone on the stream. Thanks for joining us again. But you're sick of the sight of us, and welcome, Nick. Although you appear to have changed your name to "There's Only One Tony Ellis."
Yeah,
changed that by deed poll just for this evening.
Yeah, just till Saturday night. Yeah, it's good to be back. It's been a while, so thought I'd Glory Hunter and all that. I'd jump back on for the big game.
And welcome, Sean. Sean's going to be interrogating Tom, aren't you, Sean, with your flashy stats, your boxes, your arrows, your XGs, and all that.
Yeah, they're all out tonight. Every dimension of the XG will be thoroughly investigated. Don't worry about that.
Does that mean extra good? Is that what XG is?
Well, not on your terms. No, definitely not.
There it is. The first little dig, first little poke,
little jab.
Josh, love that Lotto kit, John. Yes, Josh, it's a retro kit. I wore this especially for Tom, just to remind him of the Ormerod. Is it 93rd minute winner at Deepdale? Seems like a long time ago. Yeah, didn't we win like twice in that kind of period? Nolan, he scored as well, didn't he? Didn't Adam Nolan score? Okay.
He subsequently ended up playing for us as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Right, let's get on with the show then. Tom, what we normally do first, we interrogate our guests, delve into their murky pasts, why they're football fans, etc. So I'm sure it won't be a courtroom style grilling, but we'll do our best.
Hello.
So we'll just let an amateur on you. We've got one like next year there. He'll give you an easy time. Doesn't read the small print and stuff like that, so we'll be all right.
Never. I think probably Tom, what we do. And to be fair, we start this with all our guests is just give us a little bit of an insight into you and the history of why you support PNE and bear in mind obviously you're Foul Coast based. I know you've been Foul Coast based for quite a long time, and and your relationship with the club and when you started, etc.
So there's a saying, you don't choose who to support, it's an accident of birth, and that's certainly the case for myself. My dad was a big Preston fan from Kirkham and Wesham. A lot of our family was. So I was born into it. It's as simple as that. I've obviously followed the Whites since the 80s. I've got a younger brother who was born in Preston, lives in Leyland now, just recently moved over there, and my dad as well. Obviously, we all frequent Deepdale and watch the matches. Moving over to the Foul Coast happened in the early 90s when my dad moved jobs, and we've been here since about 93, 94. So it's been an interesting experience living and working on here. Some good times, not so good times. Supporting Preston, got to be careful sometimes who I tell who I support. But all in all, it's you can't beat this week, you can't beat this game, and it's been 8 years since we've last played since our pass across. So it's been a fantastic week of build up so far. Certainly between me and Tim, anyway. I know the messages have been flying backwards and forwards, so it's great.
So, Tom, do you think it's just unfortunate from a Preston point of view that whenever we seem to be sort of meeting again, we always seem to be kind of on an upward trajectory, and you always seem to be on a bit of a downward spiral? So you're kind of, I guess, your peak here was the kind of Sean Gregan times when you were knocking on the door of the Premier League. You had sure we'll all admit it now, you had a very, very good side around that period. Would you say that's kind of your halcyon days as a Preston supporter?
I think so. It's been incredibly frustrating because we got promoted in the late 90s, and probably for between 2000 and 2005, we sort of cleared everyone in our path in the Championship, but just fell at the final hurdle. Then you guys coming up in 06 after we lose Billy Davis, and obviously we played our games around then, although I remember a good win at your place, 3-1, I think it was. But yeah, you seem to come along once you're on the up, and it's frustrating thinking, if we'd have played them during that spell, we'd have probably wiped the floor with you. But it's going to be an intriguing game on Saturday. I think it's teed up absolutely perfectly after the two games on Wednesday, last night now. Two good wins for both teams.
Tom, I've got to ask you one with my username. If you can remember, where were you when you heard we'd signed Tony Ellis?
Well, as a 10-year-old, you've never seen tears like it. Absolutely heartbroken to hear that Judas has crossed the divide.
Formerly known as God, Tom.
Indeed, after the Boxing Day hat trick at Bloomfield. So yeah, it was absolutely devastating. It was a case of anyone but you. Could not.
I remember him. I think he was in an interview a few years later, and he said there's still people who were close friends to him wouldn't speak to him, and haven't done since because of him signing for Blackpool.
I mean, he was, as you say, he was God. He was revered. Tony Ellis, the Boxing Day hat trick, and then to go to the enemy, unthinkable. He's done some recent interviews in the last couple of years in a couple of books that have come out, and he's given quite a frank interview about the fact that he fell out with John Beck, and obviously he wanted to go on and further his career. But a lot of people haven't forgiven him and won't forgive him. Despite the fact that, at the end of the day, he was doing a job. He's a footballer. It's a job for people. He doesn't support either team. But, it cut hard and it still cuts very hard to think
It's
that.
probably, I mean, for those who, I mean, we're going back quite a long time now, aren't we? Sort of nearly 30 years. So for the younger people listening to this, it is that move was the most incredible thing I think most of us ever remember, and from the 80s and 90s and into the 2000s, because it was such a big move. And to be fair, it's one of the few things I'll actually applaud Owen Oyston for, that he actually pulled that one off, because it was a proper coup. And I think everybody on the Foul Coast and in Preston was just like, what? No, I don't think anybody could believe it. And
I don't think there'd been any. You normally hear about players signing, don't you? A bit before, we're in talks and it's rumoured. And I remember just going to newsagent, getting the Gazette, looking at the back page, and I nearly fainted. And as this actually happened, it was just out of nowhere, wasn't it?
I mean, there's been players that have gone from Preston to Blackpool the other way. Yeah, Andy Lonergan came on loan to you. Chris Maxwell came to you, and there's just no animosity. Brett Ormerod, there's no animosity on the level that there is to Tony Ellis. I don't think it'll ever change for a lot of people. Devastation.
I Tom, was unbelievably, I was in Preston. I think I've said this story before, and I will regale it just for your benefit here. I was actually in Preston at the time for some reason, and I was on Fishergate near the train station entrance. I remember I was just walking down and I saw on the LEP, those boards they have outside newsagents with headlines on. It was like something like Ellis goes to in rivals shocker or something. I wonder what that's all about. And I went into the paper shop, got a paper out, and I could not believe my eyes. It was a mixture of utter shock and just laughing. It was like, I couldn't believe it. It was like, this is absolutely the best thing ever. It's like, it was just unbelievable, Tim. I still couldn't believe it. Kind of days afterwards. It's like, it must be like a joke, but we just did not pay those sort of transfer fees at the time either, did we?
No,
it's even weirder.
It actually came there was a 2 or 3 year period where, and some may question why he was doing it, but there was a 2 or 3 year period where Owen Oyston actually did put his hand in his pocket, and he signed Tony Ellis, he signed Andy Priest, he signed Andy Morrison, he signed what was he called, the centre back? I can't remember his name in a second. We got Andy Barlow in. We got all sorts of players in, and we had a right good go of it. And to be honest, we did the Devon Lock finish to the season, didn't we? Where we were like miles clear, and then managed to get in the playoffs, and then managed to contrive to lose a 2-0 lead from the first leg against Bradford, who we'd battered at home about 3 weeks earlier.
Is that when the stadium announcer talked about the ticket?
Well, it was in the programme. Directions to Wembley were in the programme. And to be honest, it's very difficult because, of course, the playoffs are so close to the Wembley game, aren't they? And this was a pre-internet age.
Absolutely.
But basically, Chris Kamara, who was Bradford manager, just like, as I understand it, pinned that up in the dressing room and said they think they're there, and it's disrespectful, and go out there and prove them wrong. And we sat back, and thankfully I'd pre-booked a holiday, thinking we were going to go up automatically, and I actually missed it, and I'm bloody glad I did, because I think it's etched on everybody's memory that, and it's probably up there with the most because it took us nearly another 12 years to get back into the Championship after that, and because Oyston went to prison, and then we ended up with the Dart Lord running operations, and until Bellicon came in, there was no money made available. So
there was that famous Preston song, he's sewing banks as well, wasn't there?
Sung many a time. I suspect it'll be sung on Saturday.
No, at least you can't Oyston in. Right, let's get back to the questions, Tom. So probably a very open-ended question, this, but your best and worst main memories of Blackpool v PNE matches. Let's start with your best. I guess it's that Tony Ellis hat-trick. It's got to be right up there.
The Tony Ellis hat-trick is obviously there. I wasn't at that game, but obviously the result was fantastic. I think probably my personal favourite might be a 3-0 December 96 on a Friday night. Andy Sav.
I was at that.
I was at that.
Yeah.
I remember I was at uni at the time. It was my first year. We had a ball or something afterwards. And I came back in the most stinkingest mood ever to go on this night out. And I remember I just got hammered really quickly, got really pissed, and went home early with a headache and sulked. I think were we on the cop that night? Were we on your old cop?
Yeah.
We were, weren't we?
The 3-1 in about 2006, 2007. That was a good when you were. I think you went 1-0 up quite early. Hamill, possibly Adam Hamill, I think. Well, you tend to score early against us. Billy Clark scored inside a minute.
Because at one time you used to give us the town end, didn't you? Which is obviously for those who don't remember the old stadium, is literally the nearest to, as it would suggest, nearest to the town centre, opposite the Cop. And the stone where we go in now. But that had the best atmosphere, and you used to give that to away fans at one point. And then you were on this, that your Cop was even had a smaller roof than the old Blackpool one.
Yeah.
And there was just no atmosphere off there at all, was there?
No, John Beck obviously went around to bring us back, to put us back into the town end and give the away fans the Cop side. There is still talk now. People still want to go back and sit in the Cop, and they're talking about splitting the Cop up. But obviously, in recent years, policing costs and the pragmatics of that just means that they just leave that entirely for away fans now, and probably for you guys in is it March?
Notwithstanding your allocation.
Well, it's a nonsense, isn't it? You can sell as many tickets as you want for your home fans. It's the biggest game you've had in 12 years since the last time you played us. So 11 years. So I can imagine.
What are your views on that situation, Tom, the ticketing thing?
Obviously, I don't know what the full ins and outs are. I don't know what the police have said. I don't know what the ground safety officer has said. There's been a lot said by Preston fans that it's been done maliciously. Don't know whether that's true or not. Obviously, we would like as many fans there as possible. You want as many of your fans there as possible to see the game. So it's a double-edged sword. I think it's the fans that end up getting punished at the end of the day. If we retaliate come the return leg, some of your fans will miss out on going to that game. But there'll be a lot of Preston fans saying, no, eye for an eye. They only gave us 2,000. They should get 2,000 themselves.
The reality is, Tom, you've got the same as Liverpool, United, City, all the teams that players in the Premier League. They got exactly the same allocation you've got. The probably if you're going to have an issue, it is that for Blackburn and Barnsley, I think these are the only two games we've done it. We've given them a section in the north east corner. Northeast corner, which is closest to where our more vociferous fans are. And to be honest, both games they've done that. There's been problems, and those problems are only going to be exacerbated when we play Preston, aren't they? Because those fans have to walk past the end of the north to get out. And I think the police have seen what's happened in those two games and thought that ain't happening anyway. And plus, we could sell those seats. So I think we've sold 2 blocks, and there's a block that's been left free. So there's a bit of a gap. Yeah. So to be honest, you've got exactly the same allocation that every team got in the Premier League.
I think we've got more than the last league game we came when you had the Gene Kelly up. I think we only had
you didn't sell out then, though, did you?
We did.
Is that the game we didn't sell out?
We did sell out. It might have been the last day, but we sold out all of those tickets.
Oh, when you gave the tickets away at the end that didn't turn up. That's the one, isn't it?
How they were sold, but I can assure you that every ticket went.
Giving them out to schools.
You were confetti around the ground, wasn't it? Who wants one?
Yeah, we sold out.
I mean, we were all saying on here if we hadn't sold the east ends of the north, I think we were more than happy if we were in charge to give Preston more of an allocation. I mean, none of us were saying just give them only half. I mean, me personally, because I like seeing the ground full and I like the atmosphere that having a big away following brings to the games. It makes it like a proper game, doesn't it? You don't want to see empty sections of the ground. Well, I don't. And a lot of it came from our ground safety officer and the police. So I think it was more driven from them
I mean, the reality is
itself.
for the 2,000 lucky that are going to be there, unfortunately one of them, we're going to be
Is
able
that your
to
actual
see
ticket there? Yeah.
the ticket. There it is.
Quality
The
dash.
ticket in town. So for the 2,000 that are going to be there, we're going to see more Blackpool fans going away crying. So that's that's fantastic for the ones that are going to be there. So
You're also going to witness an atmosphere like you've never known.
well, we'll see. We'll see. So it should be good. It's what you look forward to, isn't it? It's been
Well,
8 years
listen,
since we last
we're all
There's
buzzing
no
for it,
game
aren't
like
we?
it. For our two teams, there is no game like this. People try and manufacture rivalries with Burnley, Blackburn, Fleetwood, etc. But there is nothing like this game at all for a Preston
True.
fan or for you fans. Simple as that. Especially because I live over here. You can imagine what it's like.
Yeah, you can't go out for a couple of days, can you? If you get beat,
I'll
be a hermit.
I'll be absolutely fine next week. So I'll be trying to spot the Blackpool fan, I think.
Quick story before we move on to the next question. These lot know this, but half my family are actually all from Preston. My mum's side. My granddad was a massive Preston fan. He knew Tom Finney personally, and my grandma went to school with him. Yeah, he's there, isn't he? And so there was a pretty strong rivalry in down our family, split down the middle. And I always remember, I think it might have been after some time you'd beaten us anyway at Deepdale. It was a Boxing Day game. And my brother, because we always used to go to my grandma's for Boxing Day, grandma and granddad's. My brother got a brown paper bag, put it over his head and left it on his head for like a couple of hours, went in the room because he couldn't face what we granddad.
That's the best side of the family is that.
Yeah, well, that's debatable. Well, my dad's side's from Burnley, so you draw your own conclusions there.
Yeah, mate. You don't need to.
You had a lucky escape, John.
I did, yeah. Right, Tom. So, how's the Preston squad faring up this season? And what's your opinion on Frankie McAvoy as a manager? Given there's been a bit of argy-bargy in the press this week as well, hasn't there?
Yeah. So in terms of the squad, I'd say we are where we are, and it's about fair, really. We brought in 3 or 4 players in the summer to try and freshen things up, and they're all sat in the the injury. They're all injured. They're all sat in the treatment room. Ola Sunday, we brought in a fullback. Izzy Brown signed on a free. Connor Wickham, and they've just all gone down and looking like they're not going to feature well into the new year. So that's disappointing. And last night, every player, I think every player that started the game featured pretty much last season. So we've not really been able to freshen the squad up too much, or the ones we have signed have ended up obviously sadly injured. So the squad is what it is. I'm thankful that we were able to bring back Daniel Evenson from Leicester, who is world-class goalkeeper. We're so lucky to have him. Really is fantastic shot stopper. We've managed to bring back Sepp Vandenberg from Liverpool, who is a centre-back, a young Dutch lad, but has been playing in a right wing-back role. And came to us as part of the Ben Davies deal in January when Ben went to Liverpool. And he's stepped up really well. You can see the quality from him. He's certainly going to play higher than the Championship in the future. So we've been able to bring those loan players back. But the rest is really signings that we made in January and last summer. Emil Rees, our striker, and then Ben Whiteman, who we signed from Doncaster for £1 million. So we're 18th in the league at the moment. We're probably there on merit when you look at the results and the squad that we have. We don't score enough goals. Maybe I think that's because of the way that we set up with. It's a back 3, but it tends to turn into more of a back 5 with 2 wing backs. But we tend to be sitting quite deep, and sort of you're sacrificing things at the other end of the pitch, sadly, and that's the fact that we've only scored 14 goals in 13 games so far. So it's not all Frankie McAvoy's fault. I know there's been some rumblings from fans. It's his first job. It's a very difficult job to come into in the Championship. We had Alex Neil previous to him, who was been there, done it, got promotion with Norwich. That went very stale and went very bad. It was a time to move on from that. And when Frankie took over, there was a spell of 8 games at the end of the season where he sort of won 5 of them. And obviously, the club felt that he'd earned the role full time on merit. This season's been a bit more difficult. We obviously lost Pearson, Ben Davis, two big players for us. Sold Darnell Fisher. These are very competent Championship footballers that you can't just replace overnight. Well, certainly we can't because of the financial aspect of that. But it's been interesting so far. Just thankfully, Emil Rees seems to be coming on, and I think he's up to about 5 league goals now. He's certainly going to be the man. I think we're pinning our hopes on Saturday to hopefully get through and score a goal.
Tom, can I just jump in? I know it's not one of our pre-planned questions, so apologies to the other guys. But we're looking at, obviously, you've had a lot of support from Trevor Hemmings over the years, and obviously, and to be fair, there's a lot of respect for Trevor on the Foul Coast because obviously he owned a lot of businesses over here, particularly the Tower.
Yeah, on the Tower,
at one stage, and he was a man who sat in the background and just let things get on with. How do you think things are going to go on with you? Because I know obviously we've seen our accounts and we know what happened there, and then we see the accounts at Preston, which is completely the reverse. Which is you've got a benefactor who's pumped money in, and I keep hearing stories that he's actually did it because his sons are Preston fans more than him, because he was obviously big into his racing. What do you think the dynamic is, and how do you think things might change as a result of Trevor's passing?
Well, obviously, first and foremost, he was a wonderful man. The respect that was shown to him and his family at weekend was very moving. The tribute they put up, and the testament to the fact that nearly 20,000 turned up to say thank you to him. Clearly, there is concern as to what's going to happen. I think at last count it was around £100 million that we suspect he's put into the club. We are debt free. We own our own training ground, which he picked up from Bolton and Wigan, which I'm starting to think might be cursed actually. Bolton were in trouble and then Wigan were in trouble. I hope it doesn't rub off on us.
Fingers crossed.
But clearly it's something in the back. It seems unfair to think about it, having just lost him, but as a football fan, and it is questions need to be asked. His son Craig is now the chairman. He was appointed, I think, about 12 months ago. The advisor to the owner, Mr. Ridsdale, is still in the club. He's now the director after his ban was ended. So we're not. I don't think there's any immediate concern. But obviously, we need to know what's going to happen, because if he's left an estate, he has more than one children. Are they going to be interested in football? Probably not. Are they going to be interested in horses? So there is uncertainty. What's going to happen? I suppose we'll see in the fullness of time. But there was a statement the other day from Craig saying that they want to continue his legacy. And so that's obviously encouraging to hear.
Ted in the chat has mentioned that some Preston fans started boycotting because they thought Hemmings was stingy, which I would find remarkable. I think he did get some stick, didn't he? Because he hoovered up all the minority shareholders' holdings, didn't he? By some
back in
corporate move.
11, 12, he sort of wanted to just take over the club. I think he'd sat back since the 70s when he was first involved, and he basically just written checks out for people. And then I think when he could see things were going fairly bad, at the same time that you guys obviously fluked your promotion, I think he wanted to step in and decide to take over lock, stock and barrel. He's done that, and we've built steadily over effectively the last decade, debt-free, a good stadium. He's obviously purchased the training ground. So we do find ourselves in a good position, but that has been propped up annually by ongoing share issues and payments that he's had to continually put in. Kieran Maguire, the Price of Football chap, records them and tweets them out, and it does get a bit scary at times when you look at them at how much is being put in. But
a lot of the time, he seemed to balance the books by selling good young players. I mean, to be honest, it's a little bit like the business model that I think most of us like to see at Blackpool, and Brentford have done quite well, where you've got players in, you're playing for 2 or 3 years, and then you've sold them for like 5 million, 10 million, and more in some cases with you.
Yeah.
And that's actually filled the void, isn't it? And And I think if you're going to operate that model, that's the sort of game plan you should work to, rather than the QPR. Just sign people on 35 grand a week, and
I think we were doing that around the time we were promoted. We brought in people like Daniel Johnson, Ben Pearson, Ryan Ledson, all these individuals, Jordan Hugill, that we were looking at bringing them in, pushing them forward together, and then looking at selling them on, because every team, even Manchester United, are a selling football team. There's no such thing as no one has not got a price for sale. So I've no issue with that. You look at, as you said, Brentford, you look at that model. The concerns were about actually using that money and replacing it adequately. Some people will say, well, we got £9 million for Jordan Hugill, and we didn't replace it on a striker. Some people will say that we only replaced Greg Cunningham adequately when Greg Cunningham came back to us 3 years later. So there's both sides of the coin perspective that people are saying. At the end of the day, the accounts speak for themselves. I'm not a financial specialist, but it's there in black and white what his financial contributions should be. I think the nature is that people always want more. How much is enough? Is 100 million enough? Is 200 million enough?
Interestingly, David Goldblatt, there's a video when we did our Judgment Day 1, and obviously David's a very left wing. If you've read his books like The Ball Is Round and things like that, I'm sure Sean has and some others. And he came to our JD1, and he's a great guy, and he was like, not a penny more, wouldn't go into the ground unless he got a free ticket. But he during the course of that video that Copper 90 do, he sums it up that from a football fan's perspective, it's about running a football club in a way where you make the most money you can, spend it all on players, and avoid going bankrupt. And it's like you push it all out, and you basically live on the edge. And that's basically what he was suggesting that most fans of most teams expected their clubs to do. Now, whether that's realistic or whether it's appropriate is another matter, but I think it does reinforce the view that you've just said there, that Preston fans, because I know quite a few of you have moaned at Trevor and have moaned at the strategy, and we've moaned at our strategy, which involves a lot of money leaving the football club, never mind money coming back in to prop it up. I think it's probably right. I think everybody expects, when you sell your striker for 10 million, they want a 10 million pound striker to replace him. But the reality is, when you sell that player for 10 million, you want to find someone for $500,000, develop them, and then sell them for 10 million. That's actually how you make it pay in the Championship. Because if you try and compete with your West Broms, your QPRs, your Fulhams, you're going to get battered financially, battered. And there's only so many people out there in the world who will actually be prepared to do that.
And I think we signed Daniel Johnson for £50,000. That's the song about him. We find Jordan Hugill. We signed him for £25,000 from Port Vale. We've signed Ben Pearson for £300,000 from Manchester United.
It sounds like you've got a really good scouting network, Tom, by the sounds of it. Do you know who's more responsible for getting these players?
Well, we were doing that, and then in the last couple of years, we seem to have moved away from that. And I think that's been the frustration, that we've lost these players, and we've tended to bring in older players that have probably not got a sell-on value.
And Scott Sinclair was a strange one, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was mooted for quite a while, and it was surprising because I think there was talk that Celtic continued to pay him while he was with us, and he's in and out of the side. He's not really pulling up trees. I think he's out of contract at the end of the season, and with what's happened with Mr. Hemmings, I think it's very unlikely that he will stay on beyond the summer, realistically. So.
Right, yeah, Sean, over to you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously you're talking about some personnel there, and you mentioned before about the system that you play and how it's kind of a bit more defensive. Do you feel like there's almost an over-reliance on individual moments of quality from the likes of Emil Rees and Ben Whiteman, rather than there being a real sort of structure to your attacking play so that it sort of spreads around the team?
I think at this level, the higher level you go, the more that you rely upon instances of brilliance or set pieces. But Alex Neil very much set up 4-2-3-1. He was rigid throughout pretty much the entirety of his tenure at Preston. Obviously, Frankie's taken over. And losing the personnel that we have, Ben Davis, Ben Pearson, Darnell Fisher, we've not been able to play a back four. Everyone wants to see 4-4-2, you attack. Everyone says, oh, Leicester won the league in 2015 playing 4-4-2 with wingers. But we don't have the personnel, I think, as it stands. So he's set up to be hard to be rigid. A back three, they support each other. We've lost players that allows them to play in a back four. The one time we have tried that this season and we played a diamond in midfield was incidentally the first game of the season against Hull, and he absolutely tore us apart. And Hull haven't beaten anyone since. I don't.
Can you play diamond on Saturday, please?
No, I don't think so. I think he will set up with the back three, and it will be Story, Bauer, and then Andrew Hughes, and then it will be Vandenberg right wing back and Josh Earl left wing back. What happens in front of that? I think there's a number of things that can happen. I think the only guarantee is that Emil Rees will play. Behind that, it could be one of Ledson, it could be Alan Brown, Daniel Johnson, Ben Whiteman, Barkhuizen, who obviously you guys know, Scott Sinclair. It could be a mix of any of them, really. And I don't think he's actually settled at the moment on which midfield three and then who plays in support of Emil Rees at the moment. I think that's what he's trying to find out. And trying to find that out in a championship season, when it's tough enough as it is obviously going to be very difficult. I'm realistic in terms of our prospects for this season. I wasn't expecting us to trouble the top six. Some other fans maybe were and hoping we would push on, and I think they've come down to earth with a bum.
Can I just say that I predicted you to finish 24th?
Yes, I saw that, Tim.
And I still stick by that.
Well, we shall see, Mr. Fielding. We shall see.
Tom, you mentioned Tom Barkhuizen there. Can you tell for people who didn't see it this press conference that he's had in what was said, and Frankie McElroy's had a response rather terse, I believe, and that's been pulled. So you like to just tell people what's happened there.
Tom Barkhuizen has always been very open and honest. Even I think going back to his time when he was at Morecambe, he explained how he says he left you guys. He's explained about his time at Morecambe. And I think the other day, a lot of what he said echoes probably what a lot of the concerns are from the fans. The fact that
which was what exactly? What did he say?
Sitting back, that we've struggled to beat anyone in this league bar League One teams. We've had a couple of results in the cups against sort of minnow football teams. We're not scoring goals. There's no press going on, and we don't seem to be conducive in terms of knowing what we're doing and players knowing what we're doing on the pitch. So it was certainly an eye-opener of an interview, and I think the whole Preston fan base, some are probably a bit divided on whether that was the right thing to do, whether come out and actually voice that in a contract year, to come out and voice that in the press. Other people are saying, oh, well done. That's exactly what our concerns are. That's what we're worried about. He made a comment that he'll never be as upset about losing a football match as he does when his dog recently died. That's obviously very honest about things. But he has been a good player for us. He's only just come back from COVID, sadly, so he's still getting up to speed. He played on Saturday, but looked a bit off the pace. Didn't feature last night until the second half when he came on. So I'm not convinced he'll play or he'll start on Saturday. But I like him because of the pace that he brings, being able to get in behind and attack.
I think it'll be an interesting day for him if he does play. Sean, did you ever rate him while I was at Blackpool? I do remember we do this. We used to do this feature called Keep or Dump. Nick was there. And we were talking about out of contract players, and I was kind of sticking up for him, saying he's a decent player, and he'd just been played in these ridiculous positions, like right back and
he always played right back.
Yeah, like right back, and he never had a proper run in the side, did he, to cement a place or in his correct positioning?
I remember scoring a quality goal. It was that game when Earnshaw came. Was it what game when Earnshaw came out the following year? He scored an absolute worldie at Bolton.
Yeah.
And yet we just let him go at the end of the season. We didn't even try and keep him. It was just.
And he's a Blackpool lad as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he used to play for Spirit.
I personally thought, obviously, like he had the moments of quality, but it was hard to judge players around that time as well, which didn't help the cause. But I don't know. I just thought he was a bit of something of nothing, to be honest. I wasn't too fussed that he left. Just thought he was he didn't quite have the technical ability that you'd want from a winger. I thought he was more just
with the XG's not all right.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, there was no XG
Wasn't
around
it?
at the time. He just picked that opinion out of the air because there's no data to back that.
I think we've got to accept that he's proven to be a very decent championship footballer, hasn't he? So so us letting a young lad like that go for nothing was and to be honest, I'm not. I know I sort of endorse what John says. At the time, I was fuming that we let him go for nothing because I could actually see his potential. I thought he would be a decent player, and we let like players like Adam Nolan go, didn't we? As well,
would we play him now?
There was a few players who went.
I don't know.
Who went to Preston, who were Blackpool players, who I thought, why the F are they not playing with us? Because they are better than what we've got, and we've given them away. It's like bonkers.
Yeah,
so personally, I thought we should have kept him, and I thought we should have nurtured him. But it was the wrong time, wrong place.
Well, when he first came in, we signed him in. Morecambe were in trouble financially, and so I think Trevor stepped in to help out, and we took him on in the November, and he was training with us, but we couldn't officially sign him until the January, and he came in the January. I don't know if he's 18 or 19 now, and he just hit the ground running. He was on fire, and we ended up playing him in support of the striker, and he ended up. I think he scored a goal at Blackburn. He scored a great goal at Deepdale against Reading, where he ran the length of the pitch, and we thought, oh my God, we've unearthed the next Nugent here, pacey forward. And then he's had one or two bits and pieces. And Alex Neil, he was a big Alex Neil, liked playing him and liked having him in his team because of the pace he has. And he's tracking back and recovering, helping the fullback out as well. But he's kind of lost his way, I think, in the last 12 months, which has been a bit disappointing because, as I said, I do like him because of the pace that he brings to the team. Because we're short on pace apart from him.
Stephen Tomlinson can see Tom B coming on the 90th minute and scoring the winner.
Or Potsy. There's another one.
Brad Potts as well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jamie
I never warmed to Brad Potts. For me, he was a show pony. I remember going to watching him at Crew, and he was like not tracking back and just wanted to pick the ball up and go forward. And I wasn't sad to see him go. I know he's obviously did well at Barnsley, and obviously you paid some quite decent money for him, to be fair, didn't you?
It was allegedly £1 million, but I don't know whether it was as much as that. But again, when he first came in, Alex Neil seemed to like him. He'd bring him on later on in games, legs running down, running on beyond the striker, trying to score a late goal. But he is a bit Marmite with the Preston fans. Some people can see what he brings. Other people just think, as you've said.
I'll tell you what, if he's up against Winkle and Dougal and or Stewart on Saturday, I'll be quite happy.
I don't think he'll start. I think he could possibly come on later, but I don't think he'll be in the starting 11 unless Frankie goes completely left field there.
Yeah, he won us that playoff League Final 2, if you remember.
Yeah, he actually had a rich vein of form in that, as did what's he called, the striker Cullen.
Yeah,
he had a rich vein of form. He was like not done anything before, not done anything since, but. To be fair to them, they both. And listen, with the benefit of hindsight at the time, there's all this discussion about: do we really want to go up? Do we really want to give the Oysters more money? But the reality was, it best placed us for when Simon took over. So, with the benefit of hindsight, they did Blackpool a great job, didn't they? From that point of view, but all these players, the just for your benefit, the Cullens and the Potts. Not less so Barhusen, because I think he's that a little bit before that. Most of us didn't watch them because we were boycotting. So they're not really Blackpool players for us. They're not. For me, I can't honestly say that I ever consider I would never consider Brad Potts in the same way I would consider a player when I was watching the club normally. And ditto Cullen and ditto quite a few of these other players. We spoke about Aldred last night, and I've got the same ambivalence towards him as well.
There's the first Timism of the night.
Tom's got to get one in tonight, hasn't he? Somewhere along the line.
Well, Tom, what that was, there's a Timism alert, which was the sound you just heard, and whenever Tim comes out with these posh, long lawyer words, it gets that alert playing. So we were hoping you may out Timism him this evening. So
The
try
only
your
person who's
best.
done that so far, to be fair, is Robbie Whittaker. Robbie Whittaker came out with his thesaurus, didn't he, and basically decided to outgun me.
Destroyed you.
He did destroy me, but he came with a basically a load of ammunition ready to go at it.
Connor's give you a good run for his money as well, hasn't he?
He has,
Oxford educated. Yeah. Right. Anyway, we were mentioning players that have played for both, and that's another section of this show. They played for both. Viewers, get your comments in. Famous players that have played for both teams. Nick, I know you've noted a few down, so let's just run through these and make funny little stories or quips you can think of these players.
Well, I think we've covered Tony Ellis, haven't we? earlier in the show.
Can we dwell a little bit longer?
Can we go back to that? Yeah. Everyone behind him.
I was saying, I'll make you pick. Hang on. Let's do that again.
There he is.
I remember that celebration. Yeah, I remember that. In Enco group.
To be honest, he never really. I don't. It was
He never
like
scored for us against Preston. Never scored.
No, he never scored.
He?
But he also was always quite reserved in his support of Blackpool fans. I think a few Blackpool fans didn't like the fact that he was quite. I don't think that was in his character anyway. That was just because.
He was always a bit of a miserable bastard, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was always a bit just he's doing his job. He certainly wasn't a badge kisser, was he? He'd score some of the goals he scored back to goal, and he'd kill one in the top corner from 25 yards and celebrate like he'd done it on the training pitch or something, or in his back garden. You know, he wasn't one for...
He had that trademark move, didn't he? Drop the left shoulder, go the other way, one touch, bang, curl it in. Did that against Bradford.
Never did it against the Nobbers. I don't know.
No, he didn't. He always do it. No.
That wasn't it. Mercurial striker. Can that be a Thomism then or not? Is that not? There we go.
Thomism, yes. Mercurial striker, like it. 1-1. Who's going to get the winner? Tim or Tom? Let us know in the comments. Nick, what else have you got? Oh, Chris Maxwell was the first one.
Chris Maxwell, Tom, more recently.
We've got a famous song, haven't we? He used to play for Preston, but he's all right now.
Yeah, I'm absolutely gutted he's not playing, to be honest, because he always had a rick in him at Preston. He used to play well, and then he decided to come hurtling out to the edge of the 18-yard box and either drop an easy cross or decide to go for a Burton. So
I remember you telling me about this, and to be honest, he's the best sweeper as a goalkeeper I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. Maybe he's
obviously
learned.
got better at it. Yeah. He's obviously made all these mistakes with you.
He was the same at Hibs as well on loan. It's like throughout his career, like Hibs fans laughed when he signed for us as well. The fact he was in the Championship, it's just been a consistent theme that he just hasn't been very good wherever he's been, and it seems like it's just perfect place, perfect time, perfect manager, and it's worked so well for us.
He is honestly, Tom. He is. I know he's statistically, I think he's the fourth best keeper. I'm sure Sean will correct me if I'm wrong. The fourth best keeper in the league. But I actually think he's the best keeper in the league from what I've seen so far. As regards his all-round contribution. And he's the one keeper who I actually think makes a good captain. Because I absolutely hate keepers as captains, as I said at the time. But I've actually changed my mind over him.
We brought him in from Fleetwood as sort of backup to Declan Rudd, and he kind of ousted Rudd and came in for quite a long spell in the team, and it was a bit backwards and forwards between them. And then he dropped an absolute clanger at Fulham in the 95th minute to give a goal, and he just looked absolutely shot after that. And then it was a case of fans getting on his back and couldn't forgive him for that error. And then it was a case of him being bombed out of the team. But a lot of the time, as you say, the way he hurtles out and literally plays as a sweeper there worked very well for us for a period of time. But he's gone on from strength to strength for you, I can see, sadly.
Andy Lonergan.
Sadly, he's not playing.
Moving on to keepers. I'd forgotten we had him. It wasn't very long, was it? Obviously,
we had him on loan. He was only young.
Yeah,
he was only young.
God, Ricky Fuller. Jesus, I remember him.
Michael
Ricardo.
Jackson. Michael Jackson was a big player for Preston, and he was a well-respected centre-half for us as well, wasn't he? I think he was involved in the playoff final, wasn't he?
Yeah, 2007. Yeah, 2007. He was captain of the team then. Did a good job for us, I thought, Michael.
He was actually at Preston as Jacko. He scored the it wasn't an overhead kick, but a reverse flick at Wigan when we beat them 1-0 in the promotion season, when we took about 10,000 fans there. But you say all these names, and again, none of them, they've played for both teams. Like we've had.
You've taken 10,000 fans somewhere.
Yeah.
I thought you got car sick when you left PR1.
Yeah, so it was a league game. I think it was a Friday night game from memory, and pretty much sealed our promotion that season. But none of them have the same animosity towards them that Judas does. It's odd, isn't it?
This was an interesting one. Obviously, he went to Burnley first, but then he went to yourselves after Burnley. David Ayres, and I remember that game when we were in the. I think we've been in all four stands inside the press. We were in the pavilion stand one game. It was a brilliant atmosphere. I remember Hillsy had a skinhead ready for war, and David Ayres. I just remember David Ayres giving it the fist pumps like to all the Preston supporters, and it really pissed me off that. And he had a great game that day. But he's been a brilliant player, whichever club he's been at, hasn't he?
Is it the game he scored the free kick from about 30 yards out off the crossbar?
I think it was 3-3 the final score. Brilliant game.
That's the draw. I think 99-2000 season when we went up, he scored. We beat you 3-1 at Deepdale. He scored.
I wiped that from my memory, Tom. I can't remember that.
I can imagine. So because history's been quite good to us over the years. I think we seem to have the better of you overall in the record.
We're moving on to that section next. So save that. We'll be quickly skirting over that. Don't worry about that.
I bet you will.
Although only one of us has been in the Premier League.
What is it?
Actually, the one stat I knew that I never knew until recently, when I actually read Roy Kelly's book, was that you lost the league on goal difference in 1953 when we won the Cup. By the slimmest of margins is it Arsenal?
I didn't know that.
Literally, you could have won the league that year. The year we won the Cup, you could have won the league, and you didn't. And nobody remembers that, and nobody remembers us winning the 1953 Cup final. Such is history, eh?
The reality is that football wasn't invented in 1992, was it?
No, I never said, but you didn't win the league in 1953. You lost it.
No,
again.
When you talk about the Premier League, not much of a legacy from it once you actually got promotion. Was it League Two within 3 years or 4 years?
Yeah, but that was due to exterior factors involving certain owners who I don't need to go and defame them yet again.
No, don't go there, Tim. Don't.
Yeah,
Tom, the only legacy from the Premier League season is we've been in the Premier League and you haven't.
We've been in the top division too. It's just rebranded. The FA Cup's known by a different sponsored name now. It doesn't mean that you didn't win it in 1953. Although we won it twice and you've only won it once.
And the last time you were in the top division was
right. Anyway, let's cut this. We're not here to have petty. Childish arguments, are they? Right.
Point to the door.
We love a childish, petty argument.
What are you on about? It's the only reason anyone's watching.
Absolutely.
So we've got Brett Ormerod, Clark Carlisle, David Ayres, Mike Conroy.
Colin Hendry played for us very short loan period, yeah. I think he pulled his hamstring after 2 games. So...
A bit like John at Walking Football.
Yeah. Yeah. Agent Simpson, that's a good one.
Oh yeah,
yeah, of course.
They were great times, weren't they?
Well, it was so strange that because he came in after we lost Moyes, we lost Billy Davis, and he took us to the top of the league, and we thought, oh, the shackles are off, and we're going to get promotion. We were top of the league, and then we brought in a raft of Michael Ricketts, Pavel Pergel, one or two other, Cepho Soli. God, I don't know where I'm pulling these names from.
Michael Ricketts.
Yeah, and then he got on a losing run from February to the end of the season, and I think by September, October, November, he was potted. That was maybe 06, 07, I think that was.
Good bants around the message boards, those, weren't they? When we Agent Simo and all that.
Agent Simo, yeah.
We used to have PNE Thor used to come on AVFCT.
Oh no,
That long haired. I think we used to reckon he used to be up on Pendle Hill on Friday night.
I think we as Preston fans distance ourselves from Thory, so
it was a bit like the Tango Man from the Premier League here, wasn't it?
Yeah,
yeah. It's like, you know, it's like this. If you get cars now, they like to dechrome them, don't they? So that they look a bit more classic. And Tango Man's been de-tangerined, hasn't he? He's still seeing him. He's not got his face paint on anymore.
Yeah, you don't recognise him. Yeah, it's just right, Tom. As we mentioned, we will go on about head-to-head our two clubs, and I have done a nice little graphic beforehand. Unfortunately, you really do have the edge.
Look at that! That's tremendous. That is.
Blackpool have won 30, drawn 20, and Preston have lost 46 games. And you have to go all the way back to, I'll have to try and make that big, I can't see it. The last home victory for Blackpool was in
97.
In the league. 97, 2-1 at home.
I was born 3 weeks later, just for context.
Does anyone remember? Do you remember it, Nick? Was around Phil Clarkson kind of era?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I was trying to think before. I try and
someone said
did
Greg
he feature
Strong.
Greg Strong, he was on loan, wasn't he?
Lee Philpott scored that
Lee
day.
Philpott, yeah.
Yeah.
Vaguely.
So, Tom, any sort of memorable standout games on that little list? It's kind of the recentish past. I mean, obviously, none of us were around for the 3-0 away. Fred Pickering hat-trick. Was any standout games for you? On that
no, I mean, obviously, you're only as good as your last result against us, and that was defeat in 2013. Super Tommy Clark in the last minute. Before then, there was 2 fairly turgid affairs in the season that you fluke promotion. 2 draws that year.
Were you there for Wesley's penalty? That famous game.
Because you had a run of sort of 1-0 wins against us, didn't you? Houlihan and Adam. But then we sort of returned the favour by coming and winning at Bloomfield. So it was some interesting results.
There was that 3-1 when Alan Brown scored. No, it was Chris Brown, wasn't it?
Chris Brown got 2 and Neil Mellor got 1. And
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Hurtled into the away fans.
Remember that. And, Tim, anything sticks out for you there on that little list? Tim?
Don't mute myself, sorry. I'm back. I'm back in the room. My first ever trip to Preston, which if you look at the stats, is in 1980. Where's it gone? And we played them in the FA Cup. No, sorry, 1982 when we lost 2-1. I was absolutely gutted.
Oh yeah.
And we took a load of fans. We're on the town end. I don't think I've ever been as packed into a ground as I have been. I was there. It was absolutely rammed. There's about 14,000 for a second round FA Cup. It was by far away the biggest crowd in the division.
Who scored for who that day?
To be honest, I can't remember. But I mean, Blackpool were really, really shit at that point. Let's be right. I
do remember Craig Madden scoring away at Preston when they had the
but that's later. 82, 80. If the 82, 83 season is when we finish in the re-election places, just before Sam Ellis takes over, and. But it was the first time I went, and I think we lost the game on the pitch, but we won it on Moore Park. So that's
Moore Park.
Cool, we're on an hour already. So, right, just before we say goodbye, Tom, let's go around the room and do our match predictions. I'll start first. We'll do ours, and you can see the segment out. So I'm going to go for 0-0. I just think it'll be a draw. I think Preston, it always is 0-0. It's always very tight affairs. And although Preston, the team's not that great at the moment, I think they're hard to beat and lost. Was it unbeaten in how many games? It's quite a few. And yeah,
we lost to QPR 2 games ago away at QPR, despite being 2-1 up. But we've had sort of 6 draws out of the last 8 matches. So
I'm going for a 0-0. Tim.
Preston do draw a lot, but I think they're going to get absolutely stuffed in this game. 4-0.
Sean.
I was going to say defensive records don't really matter because Reading had a sound defensive record until we played them yesterday, so it doesn't mean anything to me. So 2-0 to us.
Finally, Nick. Just probably move on to Tom.
I was going to draw, but like you, I think it could be, but I'm going to be positive. I'll go 2-1 to Poole.
What's the XG on this game then?
You'll find out
Sean?
afterwards when you're trudging home in the rain.
It's just before you go, Tom. It's going to be interesting after the game because the police have been using this ridiculous tactic of releasing the away fans right onto Bloomfield Road, so we're all mixing at the same time. It's been a strange thing that's happening. So I think it's going to be interesting, to say the least, outside Bloomfield Road tomorrow.
I think they might change tack tomorrow when you think about it, unless it's a draw and it's chucking it down and everyone.
They don't seem to be into keeping fans in even for 5 or 10 minutes just to let the major crowds disperse. And like John says, literally, they've been funneling everybody onto Bloomfield Road, and all the away fans are going to the car parks, which means going past the south stand. But they're also closing the north, so all the ones from the north have got to come past the south stand as well, going the opposite direction. So it creates this bottleneck, and if people were so minded, it also creates flashpoints, and we haven't seen that many in that area, to be fair. But the risk of it happening
Not played Preston yet, though, have we?
Well, that's the point. We've not played some of the the naughty. Millwall haven't come up and whatever, for me, it's just absolute madness. If they just kept the away fans in for 10 minutes, the issue would go away. And all the north, rather than being funneled right the way around the ground, will just go off to the left and disperse. But they just don't want it. I think it's because it's all this to do with it's all those lawyers and the human rights issues, I suspect, and false imprisonment for keeping people in the ground. But for me, if you sign up to a ticket that says you will be kept in the ground as an away fan 10 minutes after the end, you can't claim false imprisonment. It's absolute. It's just it's political correctness gone absolutely bonkers because it's creating flashpoints. It's creating people get injured and people get hurt.
I think what we're forgetting, obviously, we need to give the police credit, really, because obviously they haven't planned for this because they know that Preston fans will be leaving at half time. So it's understandable.
I knew there was something coming.
Fire drill.
He's quite good at doing like a serious point, but then I can kind of sense something going to come at the end.
When I'm saying let's credit the police, you know that it's going to not be a serious point.
And listen, and in truth, maybe they didn't think Preston were going to sell out because they've got a history of not selling out as well. So
factually inaccurate, Mr. Fielding. I'm going to go 1-0 Preston. That's what I'm going to go.
1-0. Someone needs to write all these down and we'll compare at the end. Lanks Lab Productions, things he Preston fan says. Beware the Danish king, Emil Rees, 3-1 PNE.
He's the danger man. He's the danger man.
Is he really?
He'll score a worldie and then miss an absolute sitter. But
what is he? Is he big, strong, small, and
he's wiry? So he's over 6 foot, but very slender. But he's really quick. So if we can slip him in behind, is Keogh playing? I
was about to say Keogh could be the ideal man with a similar frame to kind of.
I expect he will play.
Keogh's been a revelation, to be fair, since his early faux pas. He's him and Ekpiteta are yin and yang.
I was going to say we were thinking about.
You tend to pick up these players from nowhere, and they suddenly turn into world beaters. You signed Lavery from the depths of Ireland, and he's turned into prime Shane Long and for Reading.
Wait till you see Carey and Dale.
Yeah,
Jezza's back on form as well. Oh, I can't wait for him to score and go up to the east stand and give it all that. Oh, come on, please, God. Right, anyway, Tom, you've been a great sport. We're going to pick our Blackpool team now, so it'll be very boring for you. And just thanks a lot for coming on anyway, mate. Been a really good guest.
No,
Fair play,
thanks for having
Tom.
me on. I wish you all the very worst for the weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's great. Thanks for having me on and being a sport and everything. So
Okay. Thanks, Tom.
come on the one.
Up the pool. That was very convivial, wasn't it? And that's a Timism.
It is, yeah. You got in there before me, didn't you? Convivial. See, I'm lifting the educational standards of the podcasters, aren't I?
You say you become
You all go
the
to
people
bed
that you
with
hang
the
around with.
Thesaurus now, don't you? And practice.
Right, just before we go, let's very quickly pick our team. So we've got the old thing up. Try and make it a bit bigger if I can. So, Sean, formation. Talk us through it. What do you want? This is for us to pick to win the game.
Yeah, got to be 4-2-3-1. Got to stick with what we've done at Reading. It was our best performance in the Critchley, so that system works with the personnel we've got available at the moment. So it got to stick with 4-2-3-1.
Grimshaw in the sticks.
Yep. Yeah, he had a good save at the weekend, midweek. So
what's that one do? Oh, look at this. A little button there.
You just want to keep as consistent as possible, really. In terms of the back line, it's just about consistency, isn't it? Going into a massive game.
Okay, Nick, pick your centre half partnership.
I think it'll be Keogh and Marv, won't it? I don't think he'll change that.
No, what we want. We're not predicting what he's going to pick. What we want.
I think that's probably what I want.
Yeah.
To be fair, I know Marv had a bit of a ricket last night for the second goal, but he's been great this season, and like we just said, Keogh as well. After a shaky start.
To be fair, Nick, he had a great second half. I thought Marv.
He did.
Not that they were under a lot of pressure, but
no. And I think he
just needs to cut out that cutting inside when he's being pressed.
Yeah,
Hopefully
you could see it coming, couldn't you, last night when he did that? But yeah, I don't think he certainly doesn't deserve dropping for it. That's for sure. No. Plus, I don't know. Is Gretterson even in contention? Is he back yet after his head injury? I don't know.
I quite like to see Viking against this Reese character have a kind of a Nordic Viking style battle. Come out with horns on and axes and shields and things. That'd be pretty good. A Nordic battle,
like Tony Curtis against Kurt Douglas, wouldn't it?
The Vikings. Yeah, for that reason, the Viking makes it in front of Keogh. In all seriousness, no, I think we can't drop Keogh, can we?
Big Rich, the Messiah.
Yeah, Keogh.
Yeah, no, it's got to be Keogh. I don't think there's any doubt, and I don't think any of us. You got to spell his name right. There's no.
To say,
yeah,
that's so disrespectful. That is incredibly disrespectful. Keoghh. Yeah, I was going to say, if anyone...
Get the U out.
If anyone was going to drop out, it'd be Marv or Keogh.
Well done.
Left back.
Interesting.
This is an interesting one. Yeah.
I'd go Garbett.
I think Husband. How can you drop Husband?
One at a time. One at a time.
I was thinking.
One at a time. One at a time, Sean. Nick.
I'd go Garbett.
Tell me your thought process.
I think there's just a bit more going forward from him with his delivery. Although it's a cigarette paper. I think Husband did, he did really well last night. And it could be harsh to drop him, but I personally would go Garbett.
Sean, I'd say Husband is a better defensive left back. Is that what we need in this position for this game?
I think it's if Dale plays on the left, then you play Husband. But if you're playing Keshi or you play Mitchell there, then you play Garbett because you need better delivery out wide. So I would play Dale, so I would stick with Husband at left back because Husband he's really good in his interplay in the middle of the field. He just lacks that final ball.
I
yeah,
tend to agree with Sean there. I think this game's more suited to.
I think it's a good analysis. I also, having watched the second half back, Husband as an attacking left back doesn't go down the ring, cross the ball, but what he does do, he plays the ball into the forward positions extremely well, and he is an attacking defender from that perspective. He's just not the one who's going to go dribbling past, perhaps in the same way that Jordan does on the other side. He's more of a passing left back, but he keeps possession. And I think that's going to be very important. And I thought it an exceptional, to be honest. And I only gave Jordan an 8 yesterday. But actually, having watched the game back, I'd probably give him a 9 because I actually thought he was superb going forward as well. I think I was a bit harsh on him, so sorry about that, Jordan. But Husband was he was instrumental in that second half performance, and a load of the ball went through him, and he was. We're talking about.
I think he was
talking about
hero.
all that midfield, and he was effectively playing in midfield and part of that midfield that dominated what was going on.
And that last-ditch tackle he made to stop an almost certain goal. So this is another good point from Twitch. Got quite a few Twitch comments coming in. Plus, Hobby has great shithousery skills, and joking aside, for this kind of game, it's what you want. So I think we'll go for a vote then. I'm saying Husband.
Husband
makes in. Sorry, Nick.
I'm not going to complain too much.
Right back.
I'm looking forward to his needless red card in the 4th minute of added time. Wiping someone out as well.
As long as he wipes out normal time. As long as he wipes out a Nobber and sends him crashing over the advertising hoardings and into the east, that's goal. It's all good for me. That, or even better, into the north, and there's a pack of baying dogs there waiting for him, hungry for a slice of meat. Right back. Where were we? So, what's up with Dujon? Is he injured or what?
It seems like he'll be okay for the weekend. It seems like he was just kind of given a bit of extra rest from his illness.
This is a tough call, then, isn't it?
It's probably the toughest call of all the positions, I think. I'm saying
Sterling. I think he's a better defender.
I was umming and ahhing with this because I think Sterling's a class above anything else that we've got. Personally, I think he could play in the Premier League now. But at the same time, Gabriel's best game in a Blackpool shirt. Preston not particularly, they're not going to be free-flowing going forward. It's not at the end of the world if Dujon Sterling is probably a better defender than Gabriel. And Gabriel was so instrumental at getting forward against Reading. I just think you've got to stick with so many of the players that played against Reading in that second half because of how good we were. Just keep that fluidity going, keep that energy and intensity going, rather than throwing someone else in.
But then, Sean, if we're playing all these attacking players, I think the fluidity is more important in the midfield and up top, and we're playing these more attacking players. So do we want someone with better defensive skills, just in case something happens?
I think Bowler works best, because obviously we'll come on to it later, obviously picking the wingers, but Bowler works best when he's got a full-back overlapping him because it offers him the inside run and it leaves a marker off him because teams tend to double up on Josh Bowler straight away. And if you've got a full-back dragging another defender away, it opens up space for Bowler. So I think Gabriel works better with Bowler, personally.
And do you not also think when Jordan pushes forward, what actually happens in practice is that the left-hand side three just move across, don't they, and get cover. So effectively we have Marvin covering him at right back when he pushes on.
Yeah, but he fucks up when he's at right back though, Tim.
And
he's given away 2 goals when that happens.
Well, yeah, but I think what we say, he just moves across and almost not quite becomes a 3, but Jordan's always going to be pushing into the opposition half, isn't he? So,
right,
to me, that's the toughest decision.
It is tough. I'm going for Sterling, Tim.
I think I would probably go Sterling, but I think Jordan will keep the shirt.
I think Sterling as well. I think, like you've said, I think he's all-round game. He was brilliant last night, Gabriel, but he's just susceptible to that. He drifts in a bit too much for me at times, and he's susceptible to that ball over the top, leaving quite a bit of space, like we saw against Forest. So I would go with Sterling.
Who would you vote? It's irrelevant, Sean, your vote, but who would you have voted for?
I'd have gone for Gabriel because I think as well, if we are winning the game in the second half, bringing Sterling on in that position would be a great substitute to have, whereas you probably wouldn't do it the other way around. So, but yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I'd be buzzing with Sterling anyway, but that's one of our strongest positions now.
Okay, into the midfield. Sean, you can kick this off. We're talking with husband on the left, so you played on that left side of the
Wintle.
midfield.
Wintle.
I think this picks itself, doesn't it? Wintle and Google.
Yeah.
I can't see if Stewart's fit. I can't see him
No.
displacing those two after the way they played on. And I did, again, watching it back, because I think I made the observation last night that I almost didn't feel I saw any of those two. But that wasn't a negative, because I felt it was because they dominated proceedings so much. And they did. When you watch it back, they just won everything. And their misplaced passes must have been on whatever statistical basis that Sean and his ilk work on, must have been about the lowest it could possibly be. And in fact, I think Blackpool's successful pass rate last night was 89%, wasn't it? Which was the highest of the Tuesday and Wednesday night games. Because I remember tweeting it, because it's obviously good that we're out passing Bournemouth and Fulham and West Brom and all these other teams at the top. We had an 89% successful pass conversion is exceptional, I think, particularly when you played away from home.
I think as well with that, it was the fact that we were forcing the ball forward while also maintaining that accuracy as well. And it's the fact that they win the ball back and very quickly just recycle possession into the attacking midfielders. Because obviously a lot of the time you'll see high passing success rates. It tends to be teams that are quite passive at the back and sort of build up patiently. We were forcing the ball into good areas straight away and still maintaining that. So that's a good plus for us.
Right, the left side of this attacking midfield trio. Has Owen Dale done enough to earn a starting shirt? Sean, you're nodding your head.
Has to. I just think you're looking at what our complaints have been, particularly throughout the season. It's that final ball quality, and Owen Dale showed it straight away that he has it in his locker. So it'd be silly for us not to play a player that's got that quality early on. And just at the end of the day, like, you can take him off for 30 minutes to go and then control the game. I don't like the idea of leaving players in our locker for an hour to go, because why wouldn't you just utilise them at the start of the game? He's got to play for me.
Tim?
I originally said last night that I didn't think that Critch would start him, but having watched the game back again, I think he has to. I agree with Sean. I think you've got a player who produces a performance. I mean, I think I saw on Twitter today that people saying it was like the best debut since Liam Dickinson, when I think got a brace on his debut. But I think it was better. Bear in mind, it was a cameo of 30 minutes. I think it was better than Dickinson. I can't actually remember a player who has had a better debut than him. And if you don't basically
Momentum. You can't
trade
keep that momentum
trade
going.
on that positivity, then what? Why? I don't know. A manager could stand in front of him and say, "You're not going to start on Saturday."
Nick, Keshi, brilliant as he has been all season, there was something up with him at the last game, and
yeah, he was a bit off it, wasn't he? I think they mentioned the other day there'd been he'd missed the game due to a family matter, and I wonder maybe there's still something on his mind from that.
it did look mental. It was like something was in his head almost.
Yeah, he wasn't quite at it last night, and like we said, Dale was just phenomenal. He changed the game when he came on. That ball for Jerry's header was, that if that's Phil Foden in it for Man City, they'd be playing it all day long on Sky Sports News. It was absolutely phenomenal, and I think even though it was only 30 minutes, he's probably made himself undroppable on that display from last night. He was superb.
So you've got the casting vote here. Is he in or out? Keshi or Dale?
Dale for me.
See, I think this next position, the 10, is the hardest one, personally.
So who are our options there? We've got Casey, obviously played.
I think it's Casey
yesterday.
and Keshi. I think that I was, because
It'd be
I
nice
said
to
at the
see
time.
Keshi in that. It'd be nice to see Keshi in that role, wouldn't it, Sean?
Well,
Is it Carey or Cassie playing here?
No, I'm saying that's the deciding who it is for me was the toughest choice. Because at the end of the day, Keshi's been our best creative player all season, but I just think how just how good we were. It's so hard to do anything other than just play that team, and that ended the second half, bar obviously Medine.
And listen, Carey was instrumental throughout. I mean, from the start of the game to the end of the game, he was involved in everything, wasn't he? And I just, again, it's a little bit like Dale. How can you, as a manager, drop a player who played as well as he did on Wednesday night? I think it was sending the wrong message to the player and the team.
Yeah, it's momentum as well. He's a young player. He's finally that's probably how confident he'll be at the moment because of how well he played. All that front four in particular, how well they all played together. They've got that understanding straight away. I think that's the difference, is that he's already showing the link-up play that I love Keshi for straight away. So I think it's got to be Carey, as much as I love Keshi. And last night, I think I even said that I'd probably start Keshi, but I think I've probably changed my mind and I'd stick with Carey now.
I think I'd agree. I think he was just, I mean, it reminded me in terms of his work rate and just getting on the ball and making things happen.
Yeah.
It's what Lavery was like, wasn't it? From his Blackpool debut and from going forward from that, he just, every time he got the ball, he wanted
drove
to make
forward. Didn't he? He drove with the ball.
And Lavery's out injured, and it looks like we've got a kind of great replacement there to give that intensity and to make things happen. And as like Sean said, as good as Keshi's been, I think he's got to start for me, Carey, on Saturday, definitely.
Tim?
100%. And it's not even up for debate.
To
be honest, when I watched the game back, he was the
head.
best player on the pitch.
Yeah, I think I agree. Yeah,
Hmm.
I might actually watch the game back after we've done this.
He was the best player. I mean, Dale does it for 30 minutes, but he's on all game, and he's had it all game. He's had it all game, and he just never stops.
Yeah. That was very hard for me to do there, to drop Keshi from that side. That is going to hurt me for a long time.
Right, Sean, right side of this trio.
Josh Bowler.
Not a
No
case
one
for
was needed, really.
see saving him and unleashing him after 60 minutes.
No, because the game's going to be done by then. You've got to think Blackburn. Think at how we blew Blackburn away based on that intensity from the start. Preston start games quite passively. They struggle to get into games straight away. They kind of build up. They're a bit static in possession. I just think you've just got to go and blow teams away now, because that's where we play our best football. And I think at the end of the day, if you've got Keshi on the bench, players that can dictate the tempo and control possession are more important, I think, on the bench now than impact players.
Nick?
I'd go Bowler as well. I'm just looking at it now. If you go Dale, Carey and Bowler, I mean, that is going to cause them all sorts of problems. All sorts of problems.
Bowler as well. So I think, Tim, you'd be in agreement there, wouldn't you?
I'm a great fan of Bowler, and we were crying out for him and Dale to come on, weren't we, after 60 minutes, and what an impact they made. And he arguably has rested him. I think Bowler's a type of player does need the odd game where he needs to be rested just to recharge his batteries. But I think you need his unpredictability. You need him driving forward. You need him, taking them on. And I think I think it's self-evident who's coming next. That four and the way that the interchange between each other, particularly last night, was a joy, a literal joy to watch.
I love that Howard's comment there. Dale, Casey and Bowler, the blitzkrieg line. Love it.
We've got to remember as well, like I said last night, this is Critchley's football. This is what he's always wanted, and he's finally got it in that game. So I just can't see him reverting back to type after he's seen that against Reading.
Okay, and finally, up top, do we need to debate this?
Yes.
I mean,
I'm sure he's got a role to play this season somewhere.
Of the audio pod, I comedically typed Sarchich, however you pronounce his name. But Jezza, straight in there. Brilliant that isn't it brilliant that he's coming into this rich vein of form in this game?
It's phenomenal.
I think he's got, we said on last night, didn't we? Keep referencing last night because it's so fresh in the memory, but he's got his mojo back, and maybe that time on the bench has done him a bit of good. I think he suggested as much in the press, didn't he, that he needed to kick up the backside. And, he's seen Lavery do the business, and he's used to being number one, and he'll want to be number one. And the way that, he stays on top of his game is by, being the best player he can be. And we saw, I think, his movement for the header was exceptional. I think, everybody thought he was offside. He wasn't because he did the run the right time. But it was his all round gameplay, and his all round tenacity, and his all round, he's another one who likes a little bit of the shithousery, isn't he? Who likes to wind up the opposition. He's winding them up when they score. But he thrives on it. He was public enemy number one when he went down for that penalty, but he was buzzing off it. He doesn't go into his shell when they're all booing him and giving him shit off the sideline. He thrives on it, and it pushes him to another level. And that's what you want. That's what you want from your striker. You want your striker to be hated by the opposition.
You do, yeah. Yep. Particularly in a game like this. And finally, just a little gag just before we sign off. At the end of the evening, TJJ up front.
I will honestly love it if he comes on and scores, though. Honestly, so much.
It'd be a little bit like when Nuttall scored, wasn't it? At the end of that, the 92nd minute winner. It's like almost everything's. I generally can't see John Jules starting on Saturday.
No.
We know in Critchley it might happen. You never know with him, do you? We won't be right with that selection. We will not be right. Something will be different to that selection. It's guaranteed.
There's always a curveball. Right, gentlemen, what a great show. It's been a pleasure to do this show.
Tom's just come on with a thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Right, great show, guys, and I'm sure we'll all be meeting at some point before the game in a hostelry for a few libations, Tim.
I will definitely be having a libation or three before that match, because I don't think my nerves will take it otherwise.
No. Right, everybody, do like and subscribe to the show on YouTube if you haven't done so already. As we said, thanks for watching, thanks for downloading. And up the pool! Come on, the pool!
Come on!
Come on!
Up the pool!
Do those knoppers.